The massive council chamber floated in the void of space, surrounded by the purple glow of the Vulcris prime neutron star. Inside, representatives from 15 different alien species sat in their designated seats, arranged in a perfect circle. At the center stood a human alone. Ambassador Jiho adjusted his dark suit and looked around the chamber. He had been Earth's voice in this place for 3 years now. He knew every face, every species, every political game they played. Today felt different, though. The air was thick with tension. The alien council members whispered among themselves, their various forms of communication creating a strange symphony of sounds. The head of the council, a tall creature with silver skin and too many arms, raised one limb for silence. The chamber fell quiet. Ambassador Jiho of Earth, the creature's voice echoed through translation devices. The council has reached a decision regarding humanity's place in our civilization. Jiho said nothing. He simply waited. Your species has advanced too quickly. Your technology spreads too fast. Your ships explore too boldly. This disrupts the balance we have maintained for 12,000 years. The alien paused, letting the words sink in. Therefore, the Council demands the following. Earth will surrender all quantum communication technology to our scientists. You will dismantle your experimental faster-than-light vessels. You will accept our observation posts in every human system. You have 30 days to comply. The other council members nodded their agreement. Some looked satisfied. Others looked uncomfortable, but said nothing. Jiho felt his jaw tighten. He had expected demands, but nothing this extreme. They wanted to strip humanity of everything that made them competitive, everything that made them free. And if we refuse, he asked calmly, then Earth will be declared a rogue state. Trade sanctions, military blockades, isolation from galactic civilization. The silver alien leaned forward. You need us more than we need you, human. Your colonies depend on trade routes we control. Your technology still relies on materials from our worlds. You will accept these terms. Jiho looked at each council member in turn. He saw arrogance. He saw certainty. They truly believed humanity would fold under pressure. He touched the small device hidden in his sleeve. A message appeared on his personal display, sent directly from Earth through channels the Council didn't know existed. The message was simple. Protocol Omega. Execute immediately. Jiho took a deep breath. Everything was about to change. Members of the Galactic Council, he began, his voice steady and clear. For 2 centuries, humanity has tried to be good neighbors. We followed your rules. We respected your borders. We shared our discoveries. We asked for nothing but the chance to exist as equals. You are not equals, the silver alien interrupted. You are children in a universe you don't understand. Perhaps, Jiho said, but we understand one thing perfectly. You have mistaken our patience for weakness. You have mistaken our cooperation for dependence. You have made a terrible miscalculation. The council members shifted in their seats. Some looked confused. Others looked angry. Jiho continued. Earth's government has authorized me to deliver this final message. We reject your demands. All of them. Furthermore, as of this moment, humanity is withdrawing from the Galactic Council and all associated agreements. You cannot. The silver alien started. We already have. Jiho cut him off. Every human diplomat across the galaxy has been recalled. Every human vessel is returning to our space. Every trade agreement is void. Every scientific partnership is terminated. Every joint facility is being evacuated. This is madness. Another council member shouted. You'll destroy yourselves. Jiho smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Maybe, or maybe you'll finally learn that humanity doesn't kneel to anyone. This conversation is over. He turned and walked toward the exit. Behind him, the council chamber erupted in chaos. Aliens shouted in dozens of languages. Some demanded he be stopped. Others called for his arrest. Jiho didn't look back. He kept walking until he reached his shuttle. His security team was already waiting, their faces grim but determined. "All human personnel have cleared the station, sir," his chief of security reported. "We're the last ones." "Then let's go home," Jiho said. The shuttle undocked and headed toward the nearest jump point. Through the viewport, Jiho could see other human ships doing the same. Dozens of vessels, all moving in perfect coordination. This had been planned for months, prepared for in secret. The council thought humanity was dependent on them. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Light years away, Captain Yuna stood on the bridge of the EDF Horizon, humanity's newest and most advanced warship. Around her, her crew worked at their stations with quiet efficiency. "All ships are reporting in," her communications officer said. "The withdrawal is happening across all sectors." "No incidents so far." Yuna nodded. She had received her orders 12 hours ago. At first, she couldn't believe them. Pull back every human ship. Cut all communication with alien vessels. Return to human space immediately. When she asked for clarification, the response was simple. "The Council has forced our hand. We're going dark." "Captain, we're receiving distress calls from the Andari station," another officer reported. "They're asking why we're leaving." "Maintain communication silence," Yuna ordered. "We have our orders." She felt a pang of guilt. The Andari were good people, a peaceful species that had always treated humans fairly. But the orders were clear. No exceptions. No explanations. "Ma'am, the Council fleet is trying to hail us," the communications officer said. "Ignore them. They're threatening to open fire if we don't respond." Yuna's hand moved to the weapons console. "Raise shields. Prepare evasive maneuvers. But do not fire unless fired upon. We're leaving, not starting a war." The tension on the bridge was thick enough to cut. Every eye was on the sensors, watching the council ships. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the council ships backed off. They weren't ready to start shooting. Not yet. The Horizon and her fleet jumped to faster than light speed, leaving the council's territory behind. Back on Earth, in a secret bunker beneath the government complex, Minho watched dozens of screens showing the withdrawal in progress. Every human ship, every station, every colony was following the plan perfectly. Years of preparation were paying off. "Status report," he said to the room full of analysts and military officers. 97% of our people are clear of council space," one analyst replied. "The remaining 3% will be home within 6 hours. No casualties. No captures." And the council's response? Confusion mostly. They're sending demands, threats, requests for negotiation. We're ignoring all of it. Minho allowed himself a small smile. "Good. Let them talk to themselves for a while. They'll figure it out eventually." "Sir, are we really doing this? Complete isolation?" "Not isolation," Minho corrected. "Independence. There's a difference. We're not hiding. We're simply done playing by their rules." He looked at the largest screen, showing a map of human space. Every system, every colony, every outpost was lighting up green as defensive systems came online. Systems the Council didn't know existed. Weapons they couldn't imagine. The Council had drawn a line in the sand. Humanity had just erased it. 6 months had passed since humanity went silent. The Galactic Council chamber, once filled with confident voices, now echoed with panic and accusations. How could they just disappear? A council member demanded. "Entire colonies, gone without a trace." "Not gone," another corrected. "They're still there. They just won't talk to us," Every communication attempt is ignored. Every diplomatic vessel is turned away. The silver-skinned council leader slammed his multiple arms on the table. This is unacceptable. They are a minor species. They need us. But the truth was becoming harder to ignore. Maybe humanity didn't need them as much as they thought. On the space station orbiting Calvin 5, Taman finished his shift as usual. He was a maintenance engineer, one of 40 humans who worked on the station's critical systems. The station housed over 10,000 aliens from a dozen different species. It was a major trade hub, important to the local economy. Taman walked to his quarters and began packing. He didn't take much. Just his personal items, a few photos, some books. Everything else stayed behind. His supervisor, a four-armed alien named Vec, found him in the hallway. Taman, where are you going? Your shift tomorrow. I'm leaving, Taman said simply. All humans are leaving. Tonight. What? Why? Is something wrong? No, we're just going home. Vec's face showed confusion and worry. But you can't all leave. Who will maintain the power grid? The life support systems? The water recyclers? You humans designed most of them. I'm sorry, Taman said, and he meant it. You'll figure it out. He walked away, leaving Vec standing in the corridor, looking lost. The same scene was playing out across the galaxy. Human engineers, technicians, doctors, and teachers were simply leaving. They weren't angry. They weren't making speeches. They were just going home, quietly and efficiently. The aliens they left behind were starting to panic. On the station, the problems began within a week. The main power grid started having fluctuations. The humans had designed a complex system that was efficient, but required specific knowledge to maintain. The alien engineers tried to fix it, but they didn't understand the underlying architecture. Then the medical bays advanced. The IAGNOSTIC equipment stopped working. The food synthesizers in the residential sectors began producing meals that tasted wrong. The water recycling system's efficiency dropped by 30%. Nothing catastrophic. Nothing life-threatening. But everything was just a little bit worse than before. And it was happening everywhere. The council received reports from hundreds of stations and colonies. Trade routes were collapsing. Economic systems were failing. Infrastructure was degrading. Everywhere humans had worked, their absence was felt. We didn't force them into these positions, one council member said during an emergency session. They applied for the jobs. They competed fairly. Yes, another replied bitterly. And they won. Because they were better at it than we were. We just never noticed how many critical positions they held until they were gone. Deep in council space, on a secure channel that appeared on every major communication network simultaneously, a face appeared. A human face. Hiron looked directly into the camera. She wore a simple black uniform with no insignia. Behind her was a blank wall. My name is Hiron. For 15 years, I worked as a trade analyst for the Galactic Council. I had high security clearance. I attended private meetings. I read classified documents. She paused. I also reported everything to Earth. The transmission couldn't be shut down. It played across thousands of networks simultaneously. I'm telling you this now because my work is done. Earth knows everything about the Council. Every secret deal. Every hidden agreement. Every plan they made behind closed doors. She leaned forward, including their plans for humanity. She held up a data chip. This contains proof that the Council never intended to treat us as equals. They saw us as a resource to exploit, our technology to steal, our people to control. The ultimatum they gave us was just the beginning. Her expression hardened. So humanity has made a choice. We're done. No more trade with Council species. No more scientific cooperation. No more diplomatic relations. We're closing our borders. You can't visit our worlds. You can't use our trade routes. You can't access our technology. This isn't a negotiation. This isn't a threat. This is simply us walking away from people who tried to enslave us. She stood up. Earth and all human colonies are now a closed network. We'll survive just fine without you. The question is, can you survive without us? The transmission ended. The reaction was immediate and chaotic. Some species were angry. Others were scared. Many were confused. But the message was clear. Humanity wasn't coming back. The Council tried to force the issue. They sent a diplomatic fleet to the edge of human space, demanding talks. The fleet consisted of 20 ships, all carrying high-ranking officials. They found the border sealed. Defensive satellites appeared from nowhere, creating a wall of weapons that stretched across the entire border. Warning beacons transmitted a simple message on repeat. Turn back. This is your only warning. The fleet commander, arrogant and proud, ordered his ships to advance. They had superior numbers. Surely humans would back down. 3 ships crossed the border. They vanished. No explosions. No debris. No energy signatures. They were just gone, as if they had never existed. The rest of the fleet stopped moving. This is impossible, the commander whispered. What kind of weapons can do that? His science officer was frantically scanning. Sir, I'm detecting massive power signatures throughout the border region. Defense platforms hidden in asteroids. Weapon systems we don't recognize. Technology that's more advanced than anything in our databases. How? How did they build all of this without us knowing? The truth was simple. Humans had been preparing for this for years. While they smiled and cooperated and played by the Council's rules, they had been building their defenses in secret. They had learned everything they could from the galaxy, then improved on it in ways the aliens couldn't imagine. The diplomatic fleet retreated. The Council was furious but helpless. Back on Earth in an underground command center, Soman monitored the situation. She was a strategist, one of the minds behind humanity's withdrawal plan. The Council is starting to fracture, her assistant reported. 3 species have announced they're withdrawing from the Alliance. They're refusing to continue the confrontation with us. Good, Soman said. That's exactly what we expected. The Council's power was always based on unity. Once that breaks, they have nothing. What about the species that are suffering? The ones who depended on our trade and technology? Soman's expression softened slightly. They're not our enemies. But they chose to stay with the Council. They made their choice. Now they live with it. She pulled up a star map showing human space. Every system was lit up, connected by a network of secure routes. Humanity had built their own civilization, separate from the galaxy. Ma'am, we're receiving thousands of messages from individual aliens. Not governments. Regular people. They're asking why we left. They're saying they didn't support the Council's decision. I know, Soman said quietly. But we can't respond to any of them. Not yet. The Council needs to understand that we're serious. They need to feel our absence. Only then will they be ready to listen. On a Council homeworld, ordinary aliens watched their governments struggle. They saw their economies collapse. They saw their infrastructure fail. They watched their leaders argue and blame each other. And slowly, they started asking questions. Why did the Council push humanity so hard? Why didn't they try to negotiate? Why did they assume humans would just accept their demands? The answers they found were disturbing. The Council had been arrogant. They had assumed their superiority. They had made threats they couldn't back up. And now everyone was paying the price for their leaders' mistakes. In the darkness of space, human ships patrolled their borders in silence. They watched. They waited. They didn't attack. They didn't communicate. They simply held their line. The message was clear. Humanity had drawn a new boundary. Cross it at your own risk. The Galactic Council was dying. Not quickly, but slowly, like a tree rotting from the inside. 9 months after humanity's withdrawal, 5 species had formally left the Council. 8 more declared themselves neutral. The once mighty alliance that had ruled the galaxy for 12,000 years was falling apart. In the council chamber, arguments had replaced discussion. Accusations had replaced diplomacy. "This is your fault," one ambassador shouted at another. "Your species pushed for the ultimatum. We all voted for it," came the reply. "You were just as eager to put the humans in their place." The silver-skinned council leader tried to restore order, but his authority meant nothing anymore. Nobody listened. Nobody cared. On Earth, in a facility so secret it didn't appear on any map, Minho read through the latest intelligence reports. He was director of Earth's Shadow Cabinet, the group that planned humanity's long-term strategy. "The Council's economy has collapsed by 42%, an analyst briefed him. "Their military is scattered, trying to maintain order in their own territories. They've lost control of 16 major trade routes." "And their response?" Minho asked. "They're assembling a military fleet. 200 warships. They're calling it a peacekeeping force, but everyone knows what it really is." Minho nodded slowly. He had expected this. Cornered animals always lashed out. "Where are they assembling?" "The Krellis system at the edge of our border." They plan to force their way into human space and demand negotiations. "How long until they're ready?" 3 days. Minho stood and walked to the window. Outside, Earth looked peaceful. Blue oceans, white clouds, green continents. No one down there knew that a war might be coming. "Activate the border defense grid," he ordered. "Full power. All systems. If they want to come into our space, they'll pay for every meter they advance." The analyst hesitated. "Sir, we've never tested these systems in actual combat. We don't know if they'll work as designed." Minho looked at him. "Then I guess we're about to find out." 3 days later, the Council's fleet arrived at the human border. 200 warships, representing the combined military might of 12 species. It was the largest fleet assembled in centuries. Admiral Dion stood on the bridge of the EDF Indomitable, humanity's flagship. Around him, his crew worked quietly, efficiently. They had trained for this. They were ready. "Enemy fleet detected," the sensor officer reported. 200 vessels. Multiple classes. They're holding position just outside our border. "Any communication from them?" Dion asked. "Yes, sir. They're demanding we open a channel for negotiations. They say if we refuse, they'll advance." Dion smiled coldly. "No response. Let them come." In the Council fleet, the commanding admiral was confused by the silence. "Why won't they answer? Don't they understand we're serious?" "Perhaps they're afraid," his second-in-command suggested. "Or perhaps they're waiting for us to make the first move," the admiral replied. He had a bad feeling about this, but he had his orders. "All ships advance into human territory. Weapons ready, but hold fire. This is a show of force, not an attack." The fleet moved forward, crossing the invisible line that marked human space. For 5 seconds, nothing happened. Then the asteroids moved. What the Council thought were natural space rocks suddenly came alive. Dozens of them, hidden throughout the border region, revealed themselves as massive weapon platforms. They had been disguised perfectly, invisible to the fleet's sensors. "Sir, multiple contacts." The sensor officer on the Council flagship screamed. "Weapon systems powering up. Energy readings are off the scale. Evasive action. All ships." The first volley hit before he could finish the sentence. Kinetic rounds, traveling at a fraction of light speed, slammed into the fleet. No energy weapons to see coming. No missiles to shoot down. Just solid metal moving so fast it punched through shields like they weren't there. 3 ships exploded. 5 more were crippled, their engines destroyed, drifting helplessly. "Return fire," the Admiral ordered. The Council ships opened up with everything they had. Energy beams, missiles, plasma cannons. The space between the fleets lit up like a newborn star. But the human platforms didn't rely on shields. They relied on armor and point defense. Thousands of small weapons shot down incoming missiles. Thick armor plating absorbed energy beams. And they kept firing. Swarms of small drones appeared next. Thousands of them, each one a tiny hunter with a single purpose. They raced toward the Council ships, too small and too many to shoot them all down. They attached themselves to hulls and detonated. Not big explosions, just shaped charges designed to punch through specific points. Engine systems, weapon mounts, sensor arrays. Each drone knew exactly where to hit. The Council fleet tried to retreat, but more platforms appeared behind them, cutting off their escape. They were surrounded. On the Indomitable, Doyen watched the battle with cold calculation. Status? Enemy fleet has lost 43 ships. Another 30 are crippled. The rest are trying to break through our encirclement. Let them try, Doyen said. Fire the resonance cannons. New weapons activated. They didn't fire explosive rounds or energy beams. They fired focused waves of gravitational disruption. When they hit a ship, the vessel's own mass became its enemy. Hull plates tore themselves apart. Crew members were crushed by their own weight. It was brutal. It was effective. It was terrifying. The Council Admiral knew he was beaten. All ships, emergency jump. Get us out of here. The surviving vessels activated their faster-than-light drives and fled. Out of 200 ships, only 97 escaped. 58 were destroyed outright. The rest were crippled wrecks, drifting in space. The battle lasted 17 minutes. On Earth, Minho received the report. He felt no joy in the victory. This wasn't what humanity wanted. But the Council had forced their hand. Send recovery teams to collect survivors from the disabled ships, he ordered. Provide medical care. Treat them well. When they're recovered, send them home. Sir, shouldn't we interrogate them? Gather intelligence? No, Minho said firmly. We're not monsters. We defended ourselves. Now we show them mercy. Let them report back what they saw. Let them tell the Council what happens when you push humanity too far. The news of the defeat spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The mighty Galactic Council fleet crushed in less than 20 minutes. The Council tried to cover it up, to spin it as a tactical withdrawal, but too many species had lost ships. Too many families had lost loved ones. The truth couldn't be hidden. On a neutral world, Soman watched the reactions with careful attention. She was an ambassador from a species that had stayed out of the conflict. Her people had no love for the Council, but they feared humanity's sudden show of force. She composed a message and sent it on secure channels to Earth. We understand why you fought. We understand why you withdrew. But the galaxy is watching. What you do next will define how we all see you. Will you be conquerors? Or will you be something different? The message was received on Earth. It was discussed in the highest levels of government. And a decision was made. We're not going to invade Council space, Minho told his team. We're not going to punish them. We're going to do something they never expected. What's that? Someone asked. We're going to offer an alternative. The Council ruled through fear and control. We'll offer something different. A real alliance. Based on respect and cooperation. Who would join us? Everyone's afraid of us now. Minho smiled. Not everyone. There are species out there who are tired of being controlled. Species who watched what happened and realized they could be free too. We're gonna find them. And we're gonna build something new. In the ruins of the Council fleet, survivors were rescued by human ships. They expected to be thrown in prison cells. Instead, they were given medical care, food, comfortable quarters. When one injured alien asked why humans were helping them, a human medic replied simply, "Because you needed help." That's reason enough. The alien didn't understand. In the Council, you didn't help your enemies. You crushed them, but humans were different, and the galaxy was starting to realize just how different they were. The classified documents appeared on networks across the galaxy simultaneously. Millions of files. Decades of internal Council communications. All of it released at once by Earth's Intelligence Services. G1, Earth's Director of Galactic Intelligence, watched as the data spread. She had spent years preparing this moment, collecting every secret the Council tried to hide. The files revealed everything. Plans to vassalize younger species. Strategies to monopolize critical resources. Internal discussions where Council members openly talked about controlling humanity before they became too powerful. One file was particularly damning. A conversation from 5 years ago. The humans are advancing too quickly. We must find a way to limit them before they challenge our authority. Suggest economic pressure first, then military containment if necessary. Another file showed price manipulation. The Council had been artificially inflating the cost of materials Earth needed, while depressing the value of resources humans exported. It was economic warfare, hidden behind smiles and diplomatic language. The galaxy exploded with outrage on the homeworld of the Andari. A peaceful species that had been part of the Council for centuries, protests filled the streets. Citizens carried signs demanding accountability. They wanted to know what other lies their government had told them. We thought the Council protected us. One protester shouted at a news camera. But they were just using us. All of us. Similar scenes played out on dozens of worlds. Species who had trusted the Council felt betrayed. The younger species realized they were next in line for the same treatment humanity received. In the Council chamber. Emergency session after emergency session accomplished nothing. Some Council members denied everything. Others tried to justify their actions. A few even resigned in disgust. We did what was necessary for galactic stability. The silver-skinned leader argued. You did what was necessary for your own power. Someone shouted back. The Council was tearing itself apart from the inside. Outside Council space, something new was beginning. Captain Doyen stood in the docking bay of a neutral station, watching his human engineers unloaded cargo containers. Inside were power generators, medical equipment, water purification systems. All gifts from Earth. A delegation from the Kesher species approached. They were a small civilization, only 2 star systems, and they had lived under Council pressure for generations. Their leader, an elderly female with blue scales, looked at Doyun with cautious hope. "Why are you helping us?" she asked. "What do you want in return?" Doyan smiled. "We want you to be free. That's all. Nothing else? No trade agreements? No military bases on our worlds? We would like to trade with you, if you're interested. Fair prices, fair terms. But if you say no, we'll still leave you the equipment. You need it. That's reason enough." The Kesher leader's eyes filled with tears. The Council would never do this. They always demanded something. "We're not the Council," Doyen said simply. Over the next weeks, human ships visited a dozen species who had been oppressed by the Council. They brought technology, medicine, food. They asked for nothing in return. They simply helped. Word spread quickly. These weren't conquerors. These weren't new masters. These were people who actually meant what they said. On a trade station near the border between Council and neutral space, Hiron met with representatives from 4 different species. They had come in secret, afraid the Council would find out. "My government wants to leave the Council," one representative said quietly. "But we're afraid. What if they attack us?" "That's why we're here," Hiram replied. "Earth is offering protection to any species that wants to leave. We won't force you to join anything. We won't demand tribute. We'll simply make sure the Council can't punish you for choosing freedom. And you expect nothing in return? We expect you to treat us fairly, to not attack us or our allies. Beyond that, you're free to do as you wish." It seemed too good to be true, but the representatives had seen the classified files. They knew what the Council really was, and they had seen human actions speak louder than words. "We need to discuss this with our governments," another representative said. "But I think you'll find willing partners." Within a month, 3 more species formally withdrew from the Council and requested Earth's protection. Human ships appeared in their systems within hours, setting up defensive networks. When the Council sent ships to intimidate them, they found human vessels waiting. No shots were fired. The Council ships turned around and left. They had learned their lesson about fighting humanity. Minho watched the new alliance grow. It was organic, natural. Species joined because they wanted to, not because they were forced. They stayed because they were treated with respect. "We're calling it the Free Coalition," his assistant told him. 17 species have formally joined. 8 more are considering it. "What about member obligations?" Minho asked. "What do we require from them?" "Mutual defense pact. No attacking each other. Open trade between members. That's it. Each species maintains full sovereignty over their own affairs." It was simple. Maybe too simple. But it worked. On a Council homeworld, the government faced riots. Citizens had read the classified files. They knew their leaders had lied. They demanded change. "Resign! Resign! Resign!" The chants echoed through the streets. The Prime Minister appeared on public broadcast, trying to calm the situation. "We did what we thought was necessary. The galaxy is a dangerous place. We needed to maintain order. You maintained your power." Someone shouted from the crowd. "You crushed anyone who challenged you." The Prime Minister had no answer. Because it was true. One by one, Council governments fell. New leaders took their place. Some wanted to continue the old ways, but most realized the old system was dead. In neutral space, a new station was being built. Not by one species, but by 30. Engineers from the Free Coalition worked side by side, combining their knowledge and skills. A human engineer named Suho worked next to an Andari technician, showing her how to integrate a power coupling. Nearby, a Kesher mechanic collaborated with a human physicist on improving the station's shield generators. "I never thought I would see this," the Andari said quietly. "Different species, working together as equals. Why not?" Suho asked. "We all breathe. We all think. We all want to survive and thrive." The Council told everyone they couldn't cooperate without them. Turns out that was a lie. The station would become the first shared facility of the Free Coalition, a place where all member species had equal say. No one species dominated. No one species was excluded. It was everything the Council had claimed to be, but never was. Hiron stood in what would become the main assembly hall. She imagined it filled with representatives from across the galaxy. She imagined votes being cast freely. She imagined debate without fear. Her communicator beeped. A message from Earth. The Council has sent formal envoys. They want to talk. Finally, she thought. It had taken them a year, but they were finally ready to admit they had lost. What do we tell them? The message continued. Hiron thought for a moment, then replied, Tell them we'll listen. But we won't negotiate from weakness. If they want to talk, they come to our space. They follow our rules. And they better be ready to accept they're not in charge anymore. On Earth, in the government complex, officials debated how to respond to the Council's request. We can't just forgive them, someone argued. They tried to enslave us. We don't have to forgive them, another replied. But we can give them a chance to change. If we crush them completely, we're no better than they were. The debate went on for hours. Finally, a decision was made. The Council's envoys would be allowed to enter human space. They would be treated with courtesy, but not deference. They would meet with human representatives, but not on the Council's terms. They would learn what it felt like to be the weaker party in a negotiation. In the ruins of the Council's power, member species had to make choices. Some chose to stay loyal to the old system, hoping it could be reformed. Others broke away completely, seeking new paths. And a few, seeing both options, realized there was a third way. Join the Free Coalition. Be part of something new. Something better. The galaxy was changing. The old order was dying. And from its ashes something different was being born. Something humanity had sparked, but not controlled. Because that was the point. True freedom couldn't be given by conquerors. It had to be built by equals. 2 years had passed since humanity closed its borders. The galaxy was unrecognizable. The Galactic Council still existed, technically. 7 of the original 15 species remained members. They met in their ancient chamber and made their proclamations. But nobody really listened anymore. They were a shadow government ruling shadows. The Free Coalition, meanwhile, had grown to 32 member species. Each one had joined voluntarily. Each one maintained full control of their own affairs. They cooperated because they wanted to, not because they had to. Jiho, the ambassador who had walked out of the council chamber 2 years ago, now stood in a very different place. The coalition's new parliament building floated in neutral space, built by the combined efforts of all member species. It was beautiful, a blend of architectural styles from across the galaxy. He watched as delegates filed into the main chamber. Humans sat next to Andari. Kesher spoke with species whose names Jiho was still learning. There were no assigned seats based on seniority or power. Everyone was equal. The first session of the Free Coalition Parliament was about to begin. Minseo, the newly elected chancellor, walked to the central podium. She wasn't human. She was Andari, elected by representatives from all 32 species. The vote had been close, but fair. Representatives of the Free Coalition, she began, her voice carried by translators to every delegate. We are here because we chose freedom over control. We chose cooperation over domination. We chose hope over fear. The chamber was silent, listening. 2 years ago, humanity showed us something important. They showed us that you don't have to accept injustice just because it's powerful. You don't have to bow to authority just because it's old. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is say no and walk away. Jiho felt a strange mix of pride and humility. Humanity had sparked this change, yes, but they hadn't done it alone. Every species here had made their own choice to join. Today, we face a decision, Minseo continued. The Galactic Council has sent formal representatives. They want to meet with us. They want to discuss the future. Murmurs filled the chamber. Some delegates looked angry. Others looked cautious. A few looked curious. The question before us is simple. Do we meet with them? And if we do, what do we offer? The debate that followed lasted 3 hours. Some delegates wanted to refuse completely. The council had oppressed them for too long. Others argued that isolation wasn't the answer. The galaxy needed to find a way to move forward. Finally, a vote was called. The result was clear. The coalition would meet with the council, but on coalition terms, The Council delegation arrived 1 week later. They traveled to the Coalition station in a small, unmarked ship. No military escort. No show of power. They came almost humbly. The lead envoy was the same silver-skinned alien who had delivered the ultimatum to humanity 2 years ago. He looked older now, tired. The arrogance was gone from his eyes. Jiho met them at the docking bay. He didn't shake hands or offer traditional greetings. He simply said, "Follow me." They were led to a meeting room. Not the Grand Parliament chamber. Just a simple room with a table and chairs. The message was clear. This wasn't a ceremony. This was a conversation between equals. Actually, not even equals. The council had lost its privileged status. The delegates sat. The council envoy sat across from them. For a moment, nobody spoke. Finally, the silver-skinned alien broke the silence. "We made mistakes." It wasn't an apology. Not quite. But it was more than many expected. "You did more than make mistakes," Minseo said calmly. "You built an entire system based on control and exploitation. You lied to your own people. You crushed anyone who challenged you." "Yes," the envoy admitted. "We thought we were maintaining order. We thought we knew best." "You thought you deserved to rule," Jiho corrected. "There's a difference." The envoy looked at him. "You could have destroyed us completely. After the battle, after releasing our secrets, you could have invaded our space and conquered us. Why didn't you?" "Because we're not you," Jiho said simply. "We don't want to rule anyone. We just want to be free. And we want others to be free too. Then what happens now?" Another council envoy asked. "Do you just leave us to collapse?" Minseo leaned forward. "The coalition has discussed this. We're willing to offer the council a choice. You can continue as you are, governing your remaining members however you wish. We won't interfere, but you'll be isolated, cut off from the coalition's trade networks, technology sharing, and mutual defense. Or?" the envoy asked. "Or you can dissolve the council completely. Your member species can join the free coalition as individual members, equal to everyone else. No special status, no privileges, just equal partners in a voluntary alliance." The council envoys looked shocked. "You want us to give up everything we built?" "We want you to give up a system that didn't work," Jiho said. The council was supposed to bring peace and prosperity. Instead, it brought oppression and stagnation. It's time to try something different. "And if we refuse both options?" Minseo shrugged. "Then you continue on your own. We wish you well, but we won't trade with you. We won't share technology with you. We won't defend you if others attack. You'll be alone." The envoys asked for time to discuss with their governments. The meeting ended without agreement. Nobody expected instant resolution. On Earth, Admiral Yuna stood in the observation deck of the new orbital defense station. Below, the planet rotated peacefully. Above, stars shined endlessly. Her communicator chimed. "A message from the Coalition's Science Division. First joint research project is a success. Human Andari Kesher team has developed a new medical treatment. Sharing with all member species immediately." Yuna smiled. This was what they had fought for. Not dominance. Not revenge. Just the freedom to cooperate as equals. A junior officer approached. "Admiral, the council species are starting to make their decisions. 4 have announced they're leaving the council to join the coalition as individual members. And the others? Still deciding. But our intelligence suggests more will follow." Yuna nodded. The council's collapse was inevitable now. The only question was how long the holdouts would resist Dot in a small apartment on one of the coalition's shared stations. Taman, the engineer who had left his post 2 years ago, worked on a new project. His team consisted of humans and 5 different alien species. They were designing a new type of power generator that would be shared freely across the coalition. "This design is brilliant," one of his teammates said, looking at the plans. "Who came up with it?" "All of us," Timon replied. The humans provided the basic concept. The Andari improved the efficiency. The Kesher solved the cooling problem. Everyone contributed. That was how things worked now. No one species hoarded knowledge. Everyone shared. Everyone benefited. 6 months after the first meeting, the Council's silver-skinned leader appeared on galactic broadcasts. He looked old, defeated. "After careful consideration and consultation with our member species, the Galactic Council has decided to dissolve. Our remaining members will be applying to join the Free Coalition as individual, equal partners." He paused, as if the words were physically painful to say. "We were wrong. About humanity. About governance. About everything we thought we knew." He looked directly into the camera. "To the species we oppressed, we apologize. To humanity specifically, we apologize. You tried to work with us fairly, and we responded with threats and ultimatums. We hope that in this new age, we can learn to be better. To be the equals you always saw us as, even when we didn't see you the same way." The broadcast ended. 1 year later, Jiho stood in the Parliament chamber again. But now it was filled with representatives from 49 species. The former council members had joined, but without their old privileges. They were just members, like everyone else. A young human diplomat approached him. "Sir, they're ready for you to speak." Jiho walked to the podium. He looked out at the diverse faces, the different species, all gathered in genuine cooperation. 3 years ago, the Council gave humanity an ultimatum, he began. They thought we would fold. They thought we needed them more than they needed us. They were wrong. But this isn't about us being right and them being wrong. This is about all of us learning that there's a better way. A way based on respect, not fear. On cooperation, not control. On freedom, not dominance. He gestured to the chamber. Look around. 49 species. Hundreds of worlds. Trillions of individuals. All cooperating voluntarily. No one is forced to be here. Everyone chooses to be part of this. The Council thought the galaxy needed rulers. They were wrong. The galaxy needed partners. It needed equals. It needed people willing to help each other without demanding submission in return. He smiled. Humanity didn't conquer the galaxy. We simply showed everyone what was possible when you refused to kneel. And now, together, we're building something better than what came before. In her office, Admiral Yuna kept a simple plaque on her desk. The same words that had started everything. You have mistaken patience for weakness. This conversation is over. She looked at it often, remembering. Not with anger, but with satisfaction. The Council had crossed a line. Humanity had erased it. And in doing so, they had shown the galaxy that lines drawn by tyrants have no power once people decide to ignore them. Outside her window, ships from dozens of species moved through space together, trading, exploring, building, free.